So what does Bloom Where You're Planted mean to Julie Lamb?
Well, before I answer that, I just also want to mention that that is just such a beautiful name. It's such a beautiful question, but it's also such a beautiful name for your podcast. And I hope you know that that's something that, I mean, each person will have a different answer to that. And so I think it's such a special way to anchor each of these conversations. And so I just want you to know, I find it such a thought-provoking question, and I'm really excited to answer it. I think it's so easy to think that you can bloom when the agriculture is just right. If the sun's out, if the terrain is just smooth and steady, if you have enough shade. It's so easy for us to get caught up in these expectations where we think that blooming happens when everything is flourishing in your life. And it's so easy to forget that there's so much value in those periods of transformation. It's so easy to forget that before a butterfly goes off bursting into transcendent color, it is covered in goo and it is shielded from the light. It's sticky and it's messy, it's unseemly. And it's so easy to think that that's not where growth happens, that growth looks a certain way, that success looks a certain way, that triumph looks a certain way. And so I think that there really is something to be said about being able to honor each part of what growth looks like.
Well, you know, on this podcast, I always ask people what the quote, "Bloom Where You're Planted," means to them. So what does it mean to Katrina?
I would say that I love that question, by the way. I think that's a beautiful question. And it ties in so directly to really how I have felt my whole life. I won't say try because I'm just compelled to do this. I don't think I could live any other way, but I am always taking things as they are and then transforming it and making the best of it.
That's
finding,
amazing in itself.
Finding, you might call it finding the silver lining, or, but it's not a pie in the sky feeling. It's for me, it's, like I said, I just really can't imagine living any other way. And it doesn't always make things easy, but just very grounded in accepting how things are, but at the same time, seeing the possibility. And that has gotten me through some very, very tough times, just having that. And really, it's a gift. I don't think it's anything I'm doing. I think it's just a gift that, the ancestors, the cloud of witnesses, whatever name you want to put on it, I have always felt very supported and very surrounded with love from all of the things that we can't see. And that helps me stay grounded in what we can see.
Bloom Where You're Planted. That's a phrase that this podcast was started with. And so what does that mean for you? That phrase.
Bloom Where You're Planted, for me, that really means no matter where you are in life or what cards are dealt, to make some metaphor a little bit, is you got to find your way to grow from that and not, say, I can't do anything because I'm in this situation, because no matter how perfect your life is or what fortunes you get or, what good things happen and even great increments, I think we're always going to have something that's weighing us down a little bit, whether it's, loss of a friend, loss of a relative to something terrible, dropping out or losing a job or breaking up with a girlfriend or really anything. There's always things that are going to be holding you back. And to bloom where you're planted, you got to take that and grow from it.
On this podcast, Bloom Where You're Planted, I always ask everyone at the end what that quote means to them. So what does that saying mean to you?
Do you know, I think once you find your purpose in life, you actually, you are so full of ideas that you don't know it's actually somewhere in your body, in your heart, in your mind, in your soul. And so sometimes a lot of us, we go through life and we do many things, but it's really not our true calling. And one day we wake up and it's just there. We stumble upon something that it just feels like home to us. Sorry, it feels like home. It comes naturally. You don't have to make an effort. You're not cussing in the morning when you've got to get up. And all those ideas that you can apply to that thing, which is your tree or which is your purpose, that is where you actually need to grow and need to flourish. And that is where you need to stay, because, you've got all the ideas, you've got the passion, you've got the thoughts, you've got everything. You just need to apply it, and you just need to keep going and keep growing.
Well, then I always ask everyone, this podcast is called Bloom Where You're Planted, and that means something different for everyone. So what does that quote mean to you?
I love that quote so much. It makes me think of, as an artist, and I'm guessing that most, if not all, of your listeners are creators in some way or another, that we are so, it's a blessing to be able to find that flow state when for me, it's like either songwriting or painting or making lunches, where you're just in that zone where you're not really aware of time passes very quickly. You know what you're doing and you're actively working on it, and everything else kind of falls away. And I think to whatever degree you can find moments of that state of being in your life is a gift. And if you can do that, you can really experience that anywhere, at whatever level of career success or any kind of external factors are irrelevant. I think if you can tap into that feeling, it's something that I just think it's one of the best feelings of being alive, is being in that state. And so blooming where you're planted, to me, it just means find that wherever you are and whatever's going on, and make the time for it, even if you have to stay up really late sometimes to do it, or wake up early, not to burn yourself out, but to carve out the time to make sure that happens. And it's totally separate from your career or income or status, as you know what I mean, with as far as any external factors. I hope that makes sense.
Each week we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, where you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you.